Hi, I'm Keith Moses, instructor at Crescent Valley, and I'm going to show you how to make a teapot today. There's a couple things we need to know. First, what are the parts to it? And looking at this teapot, we have the body, the lid, and we have the spout. And really that's all teapots, but they can change up, whether you have a handle that's on the top or a handle that comes out the side, or possibly even lugs where you attach a handle, like a bamboo handle or a willow handle. So I'm going to talk about the lids here, some variations. This one, this little acorn is cut away, and so you can thread a tea bag through there. This one has a flange, and both of these work with the same principle. They lower the center of gravity so that the lid stays put. If we just had a disc without a flange, that could slide off pretty easy. This one has both the flange and it also has a deep edge to it that holds it in place. So it has a couple things to lower the center of gravity and to lock that lid from flying off. Okay, let's begin. We have 2.5 pounds of clay and about 1.5 pounds. This is going to be our lid and spout, and this will be our body. So I'm centering the clay, and once it's centered, I'm going to open it up as if it was a cylinder form. And so that means a little bit flat on the bottom. So here we are opening it up. I'm going to leave it so I can put a foot on it, so it's got a little bit of volume on the very bottom. A little back compression, finish it off nice and clean. And now I'm going to pull the sides up, and I want to be sure I leave a little bit of clay here so I can split the rim on the top. So I'm pinching it up, and then I'm going to compress that rim. And you'll notice these teapots are fairly narrow on the top, so I'm going to collar it in. We've got an undercut, we've got a nice thick bead up here that we can split, and I'll explain that when we get to it. I'm just going to lock my hands and pull this up, and I'm already thinking about the shape. I'm going to make this one kind of bowl out and come back in fairly narrow at the top, so I'm pulling it with a narrow top. But I'm not going to put that bowl into it, that rounded part, until after I split the rim. So a couple ways we can do that. We can take our thumb and come in and split it down like that. Or we can take a wooden tool and split it like that. Or we can even take one of these ribs. We've got a rounded end and a sharp end. I like the rounded end, and we can use that to split the rim. So what we're doing is we're creating a little place to hold the lid. That little nested area right there. Okay, so we split that. We'll thicken this up. We don't want it too thin. And we'll make that ledge come up. Now we can come back and make our next poles. These next two poles are going to be shaping poles. So we got some of the height where we have the wall straight up and down, so we can compress that. Now we're going to come in and get that volume into it. So undercut, bringing it up. And close that gap. So here's a little throwing tip. By resting my wrist on here, I don't have to control that much of a muscle group. I don't have this whole arm to control as I throw. All I'm controlling is from the wrist to my fingertips, and I can brace off of that with my other hand. It makes it really easy to do delicate work. So there's our volume, and now I'm going to come in and clean up the edge on the outside with the rib. And again, this is just one of a million ways you can make a teapot. You don't have to make it this way. Just a few pointers about it. So, with the teapot shape, we've got the belly where we can help project the stem, the spout. We're going to have enough surface area where we can put a handle either across the top or off the other side. And we've got a nice lip to hold that lid. And so, if you look at these, that area is unglazed where the contact is, but everything else is glazed. So I'm thinking about this. I want a nice clean edge so I can wipe the glaze out of it but have glaze roll that whole bead on down. Okay, clean out the inside. Soften the edges on the inside. And I think we're done with the body. Okay, so we're about to make the lid. This portion right here, a couple things we need to measure. We need to measure the inside diameter across here as well as the inside diameter across there. This lid has a little bit of a dome profile, and that's really your choice on what you want it to do to match the curve or emphasize the curve of the belly of the pot. A couple tools, straight up calipers, and we have the lid master here, a little bit dirty. The nice thing about the lid master is you can put it inside and it gives you an outside and inverse on it. So that would be our diameter for this part right across here, and this is going to be our part right there, and I'm going to do it for its widest point, and we'll trim it round. And so, little trick, I can take that, either press it into clay, let's just do that, and we'll get that measurement right there. I can measure off of that. So there's our outside. Okay, we're going to throw the lid from the hump. So we just have a lump of clay, seal that down, and we're just going to take a little bit of this. So we're going to use this portion right here. That's going to be our lid. And we're making this lid in the upside down form to start with. I'll do a couple kinds of lids, but we'll start with that one. So what that means is we split it open in the middle, and we pinch it out, and then just like we did on the top here where we split that, we're going to split our flange off of this. And so take my finger and come down. So that is this diameter right here. And one of the things we want to do, we don't want it straight up and down. We want a little bit of an angle, really close right now. So I'm going to push this out just a little bit from the inside and put a nice edge on it so it slides in nice and clean. Don't want it too tapered, just a light bit of taper so it finds its way. And that looks really good. We'll clean the inside, and I think I want a little bit of a dome, so I'm going to push that down. And then a little something to interest people when they flip the lid. A spiral in there. Alright, the edge of the rim out here on the lid is the secondary measurement. And stop the wheel. You can see we're real close. We'll take a little bit off either with the needle tool, or we can thicken this up and put a nice bead on that edge. I think that's what we're going to do with it. So I'm just pinching that with my fingers and pushing that in. Undercutting this, and I'll trim that off with my needle tool. But let's measure it first. Real close, a little bit more. Okay, let's cut it off. Needle tool, nice and clean. We can just slide that in, the wheel moving, and pick that off. So we have our lid and our pot. We're going to fast forward. Normally we don't make the spout on the same time, but for the demo purposes, I'm going to go ahead and throw the spout, and I'll show you the proper steps for that. The spout we usually throw right before we go to trim our work, or the day we go to trim our work. That way it has a little bit of pliability, but it's not tacky, sticky to the touch. And so spouts and handles always dry faster. So keep that in mind too, that if you did throw it, it's got a lot of surface area to dry it out. So here's a little trick. I'm going to open it up with a finger hole pretty deep. I'm only going to go about half that distance down. I'm going to pinch it out. So you can see that finger hole in there and a nice flat edge. And now I'm going to pinch and bring this up. So as I pinch and bring this up, my outside hand is putting side pressure and top pressure on it as I pinch with my fingers, my forefinger and my thumb, my left hand. A little bit of a bead on there to hold it all together, and I'm hooking my finger in. They're going to be offset, and I'm making a funnel. Hold it up, collar it in. So I'll use my rib here, smooth that up. And you can leave the throw lines on there. I'm just giving it a nice clean edge because the rest of my feature here lacks the throw lines. So as I get to the top, I'm going to flare it out a little bit. And so it's going to present. You can see how this one presents, flares out a little bit. And I'm going to put an edge on it. And you can see the sharp edge that's on here, and it's beveled towards the outside. So instead of cutting it straight, we're going to cut it at an angle. So there's the angle. There's the flare. Just a little bit of a flare. Okay, for transportation purposes, we're going to cut this off level. Nice thing about this, with that added piece there, it keeps it from collapsing, and I can put it over there. So when it's time to attach this to our pot, we will cut this at an angle like so, and that's where you get that articulation for the spout going on. You'll also notice that both of these have a bevel cut up here, and that allows water to freely travel out and air to come back in and replace it, so you don't get the pop bottle effect where it glugs as you pour. Okay, that's the teapot.